Have you ever felt lost in a world full of uncertainties, where shadows seem to be closing in? Often, it's hard to distinguish who is by our side and who truly hides as an enemy. But what if I told you that there is a path, a group that can protect you from evil forces? The enemies of the Antichrist, they will protect you. In this video, we will explore how these entities can be your armor against the darkness, guiding you toward the light. Get ready to discover the strength that can transform your life and dispel the fear that imprisons you. Together, we will unveil this powerful connection and find the protection you seek. And let's move on to the first topic, but first, just check if you are subscribed to the channel, because the upcoming videos will be a series of content that will help you improve your life. 1. Definition of submission to God. Imagine you are on a grand adventure, like the epic ones we see in superhero movies. Every hero needs a leader, someone with a clear vision of the path ahead and the wisdom to face the challenges that arise. Now, think of God as that extraordinary leader. Submission to God is like being a superhero who completely trusts this leader, knowing that he has a wonderful plan for your life. When we say, yes, to God, we express a deep trust, just as a football player trusts their coach to make the best passes and score goals. It's recognizing that God knows what's best for us, even when things get tough or confusing. It's as if He were a magical map guiding us on the journey of life, showing not only the right path but also the secrets that help us avoid dangers along the way. A map full of love and wisdom. The map that God offers us is filled with love and wisdom. When we choose to follow divine guidance, we are choosing a path that brings us peace and joy. Imagine that instead of getting lost in a dense forest, you have a guide by your side, someone who knows every shortcut and every trap. That's the feeling of having God as our guide. If you've ever felt lost or directionless, you know how comforting it is to realize that there is someone willing to guide us. Submission to God is like taking His hand and saying, "I trust you." It's opening your heart to accept that even in moments of uncertainty, there is a greater purpose behind everything. This surrender brings us a lightness and joy that we often can't find on our own. The power of trust. Imagine the scene: you are on an unfamiliar road, full of forks and confusing signs. Suddenly, you spot someone who has traveled that path and can guide you. This person has a map in hand, and upon seeing it, you feel a wave of relief. This is what happens when we decide to trust God. It's as if all the burdens we carry along the journey start to dissipate. When we submit to God, we are not simply giving up our will, we are choosing a path that leads us to a place of fulfillment and peace. This surrender is not a sign of weakness but of strength and wisdom, as we recognize that we need guidance and support on our journey. A light and joyful life. By accepting God's leadership in our lives, everything changes. Life becomes lighter, and the challenges that once seemed insurmountable start to be seen as opportunities for growth. Submission to God is like finding hidden treasure. As we follow this path of faith, we discover blessings we never imagined were possible. The joy that comes from this trust is contagious. When we hand our worries over to God, we find a freedom that allows us to live fully. Submission to God is an invitation to a life filled with purpose and meaning, where every step we take is guided by divine love. Discover the map of your life with the ebook Submission to God, The Path to a Life of Joy and Purpose. Have you ever felt lost amidst the uncertainties of life? Imagine being able to rely on a guide who knows every shortcut and every challenge you might face. In this ebook, you will find not only a profound definition of submission to God but also practical tools to fully trust this extraordinary leader. Attention, time is passing. In a world full of distractions and uncertainties, every moment counts. Do you really want to continue feeling lost and directionless? Accept the invitation to an incredible journey. By submitting to God, you are not just relinquishing your will, you are choosing a path filled with love, peace, and purpose. Enjoy an exclusive 24-hour discount. Don't miss the opportunity to transform your life and find the spiritual freedom you've been seeking. The purchase link is in the description and the comments. 2. dependence on God. Dependence on God is not just an abstract idea, it is a living reality that shapes the way we live, love, and face the daily challenges. It is an invitation to recognize that, just as a plant needs water and light to thrive, we also need the divine presence for our lives to be full and fruitful. Without this connection, life can become a barren journey, marked by confusion and lack of purpose. The pressure of self-sufficiency. Contemporary society often glorifies self-sufficiency. From a young age, we are encouraged to be independent, to seek our own solutions, and to believe that we are capable of everything on our own. This ideal can be inspiring, but it is also a trap. When we start to believe that we don't need anyone, especially God, we put ourselves in a vulnerable position. The Antichrist, as a symbol of deception, uses this notion of self-sufficiency to lead us away from the truth. He pushes us into a mindset where we feel secure in our own strength, causing us to ignore the spiritual needs that profoundly impact our lives. This disconnection can result in loneliness and despair, even when we are surrounded by people. The reality of vulnerability. Recognizing our dependence on God is an essential step towards healing and transformation. It is an act of humility that allows us to admit that, without divine guidance and love, we are vulnerable to a multitude of challenges. Every breath we take and every heartbeat is a reminder that life is a gift from God. Just as a ship needs a captain to navigate turbulent seas, we also need a guide who understands the depth of our journey. This vulnerability is not weakness, on the contrary, it is a sign of strength. By opening ourselves to dependence on God, we allow His light to penetrate our shadows, bringing clarity and peace. When we admit that we need God, we begin to release the weight of our anxieties, trusting that He is with us every step of the way. Peace and joy in dependence. Dependence on God is the key to true peace and joy. Imagine yourself in a safe place, where all your worries can be set aside. This is the peace that flows from a heart that trusts in God. When we know we are not alone in our struggles, we find a comfort that transcends circumstances. It is a refuge that allows us to face life's storms with confidence and serenity. True joy manifests when we know that God is by our side, caring for every detail. This joy is contagious, it spreads to those around us, illuminating the lives of those in darkness. When we live in dependence on God, we become sources of light and hope for others, reflecting the love we have received. Protecting us from deceptions. Recognizing our dependence on God also protects us from the deceptions of the Antichrist. He tries to convince us that true happiness can be found in personal achievements or material possessions. However, true freedom and contentment come from a heart that trusts in God and allows Him to guide every aspect of life. When we are aware of our dependence, we develop spiritual discernment. We learn to distinguish the voices that lead us away from the truth and to seek divine wisdom in our decisions. This vigilance helps us remain steadfast in our faith, even when circumstances become challenging. Alignment with God's will. Dependence on God helps us align with His will. When we submit to Him, we begin to see our lives through a new lens, a lens that reveals beauty and purpose in every experience. This synchronicity allows us to live fully, aware that each step is guided by His unwavering love. Imagine a conductor leading an orchestra. Each musician needs to be in tune to create a harmonious symphony. Similarly, by surrendering to God's leadership, we become part of a greater work, where our lives intertwine with the divine plan. This harmony brings meaning and depth to our actions, allowing us to live with a clear purpose. A path of growth. Dependence on God also leads us on a path of continuous growth. As we trust Him more, our faith strengthens. The challenges that once seemed insurmountable become opportunities for spiritual growth. This journey shapes us, refines us, and prepares us for the purposes that God has for us. In every obstacle, there is a lesson to be learned. When we face difficulties, we have the opportunity to seek God in prayer and meditation, allowing His word to guide us. Each divine response empowers us to move forward, strengthening our dependence and preparing us for the next challenges. If you feel the truth in the words about dependence on God and how it transforms our lives, leave a like. Every like is a sign that this content resonates with you and helps us spread this powerful message. Your interaction not only strengthens our community but also motivates us to continue bringing more insights and reflections on life in connection with the divine. Together, we can be sources of light and hope for more people seeking this transformation. Now I want to hear from you. How has dependence on God impacted your life? Share your experience in the comments. I'm here to listen and help in any way I can. Every story is unique, and yours may inspire and encourage others to seek this divine connection. Together, let's explore how dependence on God can bring transformation and growth. And remember, you are not alone on this journey. Let's support each other. 3. Resisting the Antichrist and deception. Resisting the Antichrist is like being a superhero in an adventure movie. Imagine you are on a mission to protect what is good and true. The Antichrist, in its various forms, tries to deceive us and draw us away from God, like a villain attempting to distract heroes with traps and illusions. He wants us to believe that material things or power are more important than God's love. Resistance is not just about saying no to what is wrong, it's also about saying yes to what is right. This means choosing to live according to God's teachings every day. Imagine that every time you do something good, like helping a friend or sharing something you love, you are building a fortress of protection around yourself. This fortress is made of love, faith, and courage, and the more you build it, the stronger you become. Resisting the Antichrist also means being aware of his tactics. He may whisper in our ears that we are weak or that we will never be good enough. But here's the truth, you are amazing just the way you are. God made you unique, and He wants you to know that. When you feel insecure, remember that you are a child of the King and that He is always by your side, ready to help. A wonderful example of resistance is the story of a young man named David, who faced a giant named Goliath. Although it seemed impossible to win, David trusted in God and used his skills to defeat the giant. Similarly, when you face challenges, you can look to God for strength and guidance. It is important to remember that, just like David, you have a mission and a purpose, and the courage to resist what is not right. Prayer is a powerful tool in your journey of resistance. When you communicate with God, you are strengthening your connection with Him. It's like recharging your energy before a big battle. In prayer, you ask God to give you wisdom to identify what is true and what is false. Prayer also helps to strengthen your faith, making you less vulnerable to the lies of the Antichrist. Furthermore, surrounding yourself with friends who share your faith is essential. They are like a team of superheroes supporting one another. Together, you can encourage each other to resist temptations and stand firm in the truth. Remember that you are not alone in this fight. God is always with you and also places people around you to help. In summary, resisting the Antichrist is an exciting journey. With faith, prayer, and support, you can become a defender of what is good and true. By doing so, you not only protect yourself but also shine as an example to others, showing that it is possible to live according to God's principles and overcome the traps of the world. 4. God's desire for our eternity. Imagine yourself in a vibrant amusement park, where laughter echoes and lights shine brightly. You are surrounded by friends and family, all having fun on roller coasters and carousels, creating unforgettable memories. However, while enjoying the joy, a sense of limitation permeates the environment. At some point, you will have to leave this magical place. This is a powerful metaphor for the life we live on earth, filled with happy moments but inevitably transient. The heart of God. Now, think of God as the creator and organizer of this wonderful park, but also of the grandest event you can imagine. He desires for all of us to experience an eternity of joy and love in His presence. This divine celebration is not just an event, it is the fulfillment of all our deepest longings. It is a place where there is no more sadness, separation, or pain. On the contrary, it is a banquet of joy, filled with light and harmony, where life flows in fullness. God sees us not just as temporary visitors but as His beloved children, wishing for each of us to be part of this eternal celebration. He has a plan for us to live in full joy, in communion with Him and with each other, in an environment of absolute love. The Festival of Joy. Life here on earth, despite being full of adventures, also faces challenges and struggles. These challenges are like the rides in the park. They can be exciting, but they can also be exhausting. When we are so caught up in the worries of daily life, we may forget that there is a long-awaited celebration beyond this temporary life. God invites us to look beyond what we see. He wants us to know that what awaits us is an eternal celebration. Imagine a party where you are always welcome, where each day is a new opportunity to experience God's goodness and love in a way that has never been possible before. It is an invitation to set aside distractions and focus on the hope He offers us. The invitation to eternity. By rejecting God's love or ignoring His invitation, we are, in fact, stepping back from an incredible celebration He has prepared for us. It is like declining an invitation to the most extraordinary event of your life, and with that, losing the chance to experience true happiness. God desires for each of us to have an intimate relationship with Him, where we can feel His love and guidance in every step we take. This relationship is the foundation of our joy and is the key to glimpsing eternity. It is a path that leads us to a state of serenity and peace, where every moment of our life can be lived with purpose. The importance of relationship. As we live in this world, it is essential that we focus on what truly matters, our relationship with God. When we cultivate this connection, we begin to experience the blessings He has for us. God's presence is not a distant promise, but a daily reality that transforms our life experience. Imagine being able to talk to God as you would with a close friend, sharing your joys, sorrows, fears, and hopes. This intimacy is what allows us to see life from a different perspective, where challenges become opportunities for growth and learning. With each prayer, each moment of reflection, we feel His loving response, which comforts us and encourages us to move forward. The lasting purpose. Living with the awareness of God's desire for our eternity helps us align our goals and priorities. Each choice we make can reflect this truth, leading us down a path of greater meaning. By accepting God's invitation, we become part of something much greater, a symphony of love that echoes throughout eternity. This desire of God for our eternity gives us a deep sense of purpose. When we look at life through this lens, we realize that each moment, even the most challenging ones, has meaning and value. We can strive to live in a way that reflects this love, being light and hope for those around us. A celebration of hope. Thus, as we prepare for this divine celebration, we can cultivate a spirit of hope and joy. This does not mean that life will always be easy, but that we have the assurance that we are walking towards something glorious. God calls us to live with expectation, knowing that we are being shaped and prepared for eternity with Him. This journey of faith is a celebration in itself. By accepting this love and uniting with God, we begin to live the full life He has always desired for us. And by doing so, we can share this hope with others, inviting them to join us in the grand celebration that awaits us. If you also feel the desire to experience this eternal joy that God offers us, don't forget to leave your like. Every like is a sign that we are together on this journey toward a life filled with purpose and love. This will help the channel bring even more inspiring content like this, spreading the message of hope and inviting more people to this divine celebration that awaits us. Sparkles together, we can light the path for others who are also seeking this connection. Click like and come be part of this celebration. 5. The incomparable love of Jesus Christ. Imagine standing before a vast, majestic mountain that symbolizes the love of Jesus. This love is like that mountain, immense, deep, and beyond human comprehension. It is a love that transcends anything we might experience in our lives, a force that envelopes us and transforms us. The definition of true love. Jesus is not just a historical or religious figure, He is the very essence of love. By leaving the glory of heaven, He came to earth to connect with us in an intimate and personal way. He experienced life as we do, facing hardships, having moments of sadness, and rejoicing in victories, all to understand and identify with our humanity. Imagine a king, in all his splendor, renouncing his throne to live among the people. That is the magnitude of the love that Jesus demonstrated. The sacrifice on the cross. The greatest expression of this love was seen in the sacrifice he made for us. Jesus ascended to a cross, carrying not only the weight of his body but also our mistakes, our pain, and our laments. He did this not out of obligation, but from a deep desire to rescue us. In Matthew 11 verse 28, he invites us, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." This offer of relief is a testament to his unwavering love. Imagine the moment of crucifixion, the physical pain, the loneliness, the rejection. Even so, Jesus looked at those who mistreated him and prayed, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." This attitude reveals the depth of his unconditional love. He was not just sacrificing himself, but extending forgiveness even in the most difficult circumstances. Unconditional love. One of the most powerful truths about Jesus' love is that it does not depend on our behavior. Often, in our human relationships, we love based on conditions, if the other person treats us well, if we feel valued. However, Jesus' love is completely different. He loves us regardless of our flaws, mistakes, or doubts. Romans 5 verse 8 states, "But God demonstrates his own love for us in this, while we were still sinners, Christ died for us." This statement is revolutionary. We are loved for who we are, not for what we do. When we recognize this truth, we begin to understand that we do not need to seek anyone's approval to be worthy of love. Jesus' love gives us a new sense of identity and value, freeing us from the shackles of fear and insecurity. A new sense of life. The love of Jesus transforms our lives in profound ways. It offers us peace in the midst of the storm, joy in the midst of sorrow, and hope when everything seems lost. This love invites us into an intimate relationship with our Creator, where we can converse, share our fears, and seek guidance. Imagine waking up every morning knowing that there is someone who deeply cares for you and is always by your side. Through this love, we are encouraged to live in a way that reflects this goodness in our lives. He calls us to love others as he loves us, unconditionally and without reservation. This practice transforms not only our lives but also the lives of those around us. An eternal love. The love of Jesus is eternal. No matter where we are or what we have done, he always welcomes us with open arms, ready to give us a new chance. In Luke 15, the parable of the prodigal son perfectly illustrates this love. The son, who squandered his inheritance, returned home repentant, and the father received him with joy and celebration. This shows us that no matter how far we have gone, we can always return and be embraced by Jesus. This love offers us not only forgiveness but also the possibility of a new life. When we accept this love, we are opening the door to a transforming relationship that guides us toward the purpose that God has prepared for us. 6. The importance of submission to God. Submission to God is a concept that transcends the simple idea of obedience. It is an act of total surrender and a recognition of his role as our Creator and guide. To fully understand this importance, it is essential to explore how this practice affects our lives, strengthens us in times of difficulty, and connects us to a greater purpose. Submission, an act of trust. Submitting to God is not a sign of weakness, but a profound act of trust. Imagine yourself on a turbulent airplane, where the pilot must make quick decisions to ensure the safety of everyone on board. Trusting that pilot means recognizing his skills and experience. Similarly, when we submit to God, we acknowledge that he has infinite knowledge about our lives and the world around us. This trust allows us to loosen the reins and let him guide our decisions. Instead of fighting against the currents of life, we can flow with the direction he gives us, knowing that his plans are always for our good. Surrendering to his will brings a deep relief, like a weight being lifted off our shoulders, allowing us to focus on the present and the journey we are on. Security and protection. When we submit to God, we find an unparalleled security. The protection He offers is like a cloak that covers us, shielding us from the enemy's attacks. In Ephesians 6 verses 10-11, we are encouraged to be strong in the Lord and to put on the armor of God, so that we can stand against the devil's schemes. By positioning ourselves under His authority, the enemy becomes powerless before divine strength. This protection helps us resist temptation and maintain our moral integrity. When we feel vulnerable, the assurance that we are under God's care gives us the courage to face life's challenges. This security does not eliminate problems, but provides us with the resilience needed to overcome them. Liberation from selfishness. Submission to God also invites us to reflect on our selfish desires. In a world that values self-sufficiency and the relentless pursuit of personal success, submitting to God is an act of rebellion against that mindset. It is a declaration that we prefer to follow His will rather than our own impulses. When we let go of our expectations and surrender our plans to God, we allow Him to rewrite our story. This is often challenging, as we are so accustomed to controlling everything around us. However, this surrender is essential for our spiritual growth. By renouncing control, we discover a greater purpose that transcends our personal ambitions. Spiritual growth and relationship with God. Submission to God is, in essence, a pathway to a deeper relationship with Him. By recognizing His sovereignty in our lives, we create space for sincere communication. Prayer becomes not just a moment of asking, but a dialogue where we hear His voice and discern His will. This intimate relationship transforms us. When we seek His direction, we are shaped by His grace and love, developing characteristics that reflect the heart of Christ. In Galatians 5 verses 22-23, we find the description of the fruits of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. These fruits manifest in our lives when we submit to the Lord, allowing His essence to flow through us. The path to fulfillment. Finally, submission to God leads us to a life of fulfillment. Jesus told us in John 10 verse 10, "I have come that they may have life and have it to the full." This abundance refers not only to material goods but to a life rich in meaning, love, and joy. When we align ourselves with God's will, we discover a purpose that fills us with satisfaction and fulfillment. Submitting to God is a crucial step to living the life He has planned for us. This surrender frees us from the chains of fear, anxiety, and despair, allowing us to experience the true freedom that comes from living according to His principles. It is an invitation to participate in the great adventure He offers us, where each day is an opportunity for growth and learning. 7. True faith is a path of surrender. Once upon a time, there was a boy named Lucas who lived in a small village surrounded by green fields and majestic mountains. Lucas was a curious boy, always seeking adventures and answers to the questions that arose in his restless mind. He had heard many times about faith, especially in church gatherings, but to him, that word seemed distant, almost an abstract concept. The story of Peter. One morning, while walking through the village, Lucas overheard an animated conversation among some villagers. They were talking about a man named Peter, who had lived many years ago and had a special relationship with God. Lucas approached and, intrigued, began to listen to the story. Peter was not just a believer, he was a living example of faith. He had left everything to follow Jesus, facing challenges and difficulties but always trusting in the divine plan. He didn't just talk about believing, he acted with love and compassion, touching the lives of those around him. That narrative ignited a flame of curiosity in Lucas. The opportunity to act. One day, while walking to school, Lucas spotted his friend Miguel sitting on a park bench, his head down. As he approached, he realized that Miguel was sad because he had lost his lunchbox, which was filled with his favorite snacks. Without it, Miguel would have nothing to eat during recess. The memory of Peter's story came to Lucas's mind. He decided that he couldn't just ignore the situation. So, with an encouraging smile, he said to Miguel, "Let's look for the lunchbox together." And so, the two began searching the park, rummaging through bushes and asking other friends if they had seen the lunchbox. The revelation of true faith. During the search, Lucas felt something different. It wasn't just about finding the lunchbox, it was about being there for his friend and showing love in action. He remembered how Peter had surrendered to God and committed to helping others. It was at that moment that Lucas understood that true faith is not limited to words, but is manifested in actions. With each shared laugh and every new corner explored, Lucas realized that by letting go of his desire to just play or get to school quickly, he had found a greater purpose. The joy he felt in helping Miguel was indescribable. It was as if a light had turned on inside him, illuminating the path to a new understanding. The transformation in Lucas. As time passed, the search for the lunchbox transformed into a journey of transformation for Lucas. He began to be known in the village as someone who genuinely cared for others. He didn't just talk about his faith in everyday conversations, he lived it through actions. Whenever he saw someone in need of help, whether carrying groceries, comforting a friend, or even assisting the elderly across the street, Lucas was there. His small actions began to inspire others. Friends and neighbors, touched by Lucas's example, started to wonder, what if we also do something for someone? And so, a chain of kindness began to spread through the village, with each person contributing in their own way. The journey of surrender. Lucas learned that true faith is a daily journey of surrender and action, a reflection of God's love in everything we do. By choosing to help Miguel, he not only found the lunchbox but also discovered a new way to live, where each act of kindness was one step closer to the heart of God. And so, whenever he looked up at the starry sky at night, Lucas remembered Peter and how the simple decision to help a friend could make all the difference. He knew that faith was a walk, not just a belief. It was a path of surrender, where every small gesture of love contributed to a more beautiful and compassionate world. Lucas understood that, in his journey, he was part of something much bigger and that his faith, rooted in action and love, could transform lives, starting with his own and extending to everyone who crossed his path. And so, his story of surrender continued to be written, day after day, reflecting the light of God's love wherever he went. 8. Satan fears those who live in obedience to the Antichrist. Once upon a time, there was a girl named Anna, who dreamed of being a great heroine. Since she was little, she had been fascinated by stories of courageous people who fought against evil and protected the innocent. Anna spent hours immersed in adventure books, imagining herself as the protagonist who faced dragons and saved kingdoms. The encounter with the old book. One day, while exploring her grandmother's attic, Anna came across an old shelf covered in dust. Intrigued, she began to investigate. In the back, she found a worn book with yellowed pages. It was a book of stories about how ordinary people became extraordinary by obeying God. Anna's heart raced with excitement, she knew there was something special there. The story of David. As she opened the book, one story caught her attention. It was about a young man named David, a simple shepherd who challenged a giant named Goliath. Even without armor or sophisticated weapons, David faced the giant with a single stone and unwavering faith. He was not afraid because he knew that God was by his side. What impressed Anna the most was the fact that David not only believed in God but also followed his instructions and trusted in his protection. Anna's decision. David's story ignited a flame within Anna. She decided that she wanted to be like him, a heroine who did not let fear dominate her. Instead of giving in to insecurities, she began to study more about the Bible, discovering teachings that guided her in life. Anna learned about the importance of obedience to God and how it not only strengthened her but also helped those around her. The challenge at school. Once, during recess at school, Anna noticed that some of her classmates were making cruel jokes about a new student named Lucas. He was shy and didn't fit well into the group. Seeing the scene, Anna remembered the stories she had read and felt a wave of compassion. Determined to act, she stood up and went over to her classmates. "That's not right," she said firmly. Anna's look was not one of anger but of genuine concern. She then approached Lucas and, with a warm smile, offered him friendship. "Would you like to play with us?" she asked, filling Lucas's heart with hope. God's protection. As Anna made new friends, she began to hear whispers about something called the Antichrist, a figure trying to lead people away from God by spreading despair and confusion. But instead of allowing herself to be scared, Anna remembered the strength that came from her obedience to God. She understood that the closer she was to Him, the more protected she would be against lies and negative influences. Anna realized that her decision to help Lucas formed a barrier around her, a protection that made her strong and fearless. She knew that the Antichrist and the forces of evil feared those who walked in the light. Obedience to God was like an invisible armor, preventing evil from prevailing. The heroine of her own story. Over time, Anna became known at school not only for her kindness but also for her courage in standing up for what was right. Her friends began to follow her, inspired by her determination. She became a true heroine in her own story, showing that each of us can make a difference by living in obedience and being an example of kindness and love. Anna understood that by obeying God, she not only became stronger but also illuminated the path for others. She felt secure, knowing that she was always under divine protection. Even in the face of challenges brought by the Antichrist, Anna knew that by following God, she was always safe. 9. The importance of surrender and the love of God. Total surrender to God is like entering a magical garden where flowers bloom and the sun always shines. Imagine that your life is like a little plant that needs care. When you surrender to God, you are giving that little plant to Him, trusting that He knows exactly how to nurture it so it can grow healthy and strong. Surrender is an act of trust, like taking a leap of faith. You may be wondering, what happens to my dreams and desires? Here's the secret: when you give your life to God, He transforms your dreams into something even more wonderful. Think of an artist painting a picture. When he hands his art over to God, he may discover new colors and shapes he never would have imagined on his own. The true beauty of life is revealed when we allow ourselves to be guided by the love of God. Now, imagine that the love of God is like a warm blanket that wraps around you, warming your heart and providing you with security. When you surrender to Him, that love becomes your source of strength and peace. Even in difficult times, when the Antichrist tries to make us feel insecure or alone, the love of God protects us and reminds us that we are never alone. It's like having a superpower that enables us to face any challenge. The Antichrist, in its various forms, tries to draw us away from that love, making us believe that we can live our lives without God. He wants us to feel weak, vulnerable, and dependent on things that do not help us. But here's the powerful truth: by surrendering to God, you arm yourself against these temptations. Your surrender becomes an armor that protects you from the lies and deceptions of the Antichrist. You become a warrior of light, filled with faith and hope. When you recognize your need for God, it is a sign of humility. It's like saying, "I am like a child who needs help." And God loves it when we approach Him this way. He sees us as His beloved children and desires to guide us. This humility is not weakness, it is an incredible strength that connects us to something greater. By surrendering to God, you are also opening the doors to receive His blessings. He has a special plan for each of us, and that plan is full of love, joy, and purpose. You begin to see the world in a new way, realizing how each little moment is an opportunity to feel and share the love of God. So, always remember, true surrender is not a burden, but a path to freedom. When you place your trust in God, you can live a life full of meaning and joy. You become a beacon of light, showing others how surrendering to God can transform their lives and protect them from the clutches of the Antichrist. Well, we've reached the end of the video, but first, I've linked a related video up here that you just watched. I'm sure it will help you even more with your struggles. Thank you for watching until now. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to keep receiving the content. See you in the next video.